Don't panic, get creative. Now is a time for creativity. Whether you're practicing social distancing or self-quarantining as a result of the pandemic, now is a time where wealth is being created. My name is Darius.
And I'm Carmen. So in this video, we actually want to talk to you about how wealth is created. And the very first point that we want to address is in this book called Becoming Your Own Banker by Mr. R. Nelson Nash. And for those of you who follow the Wealth Nation channel, you know that we're infinite bankers. And this book is the Bible to all of the things that we teach. So if you go to page 11, everyone scroll with me, please. One of the very first paragraphs Mr. Nelson Nash says is, if some authoritative power distributed all the money in the world equally among all the people in the world, within 10 years' time, 97% of all the money would be under the control of 3% of the people. I suppose that there is no way to even measure the validity of such a statement, but I have a feeling that most people would agree that it's probably close to the truth. And then he says, if the proportions were somewhat moderated, let's say 75% of the money would be under control of 25% of the people, what do you think would happen with that phenomenon? So we're bringing this point to you because what did Nelson say? Nelson said that in 10 years' time, if we generated all of the money in the world equally amongst everyone, 3% of the population would control 97% of the wealth. So what that means to me is what we are taught as consumers about money and what's actually happening with it are two different things.
Right. I 100% agree with that. So let's put this in perspective. Let's say Target, McDonald's, Nike, Amazon.
Yep.
They all provide a service or a product. And what we do is we go to these places and we exchange money for these services or products.
Yes.
Now let's take Target for example. What they want to do is be the premier place where we go to shop for home goods.
Yep.
McDonald's wants to be the premier place where we go to get fast food.
Correct.
Now, what happens whenever we spend money or whenever we exchange money for these services at these companies, that money goes into the pockets of a small group of people at the top.
So, but what does that mean? Because as consumers, if we're all funneling our income or the few dollars that we get every single month
to the same place,
where does all that money end up? With the same people, which definitely makes sense with the quote that I just said in the book, how money and the wealth ends up being redistributed. Because as consumers, we're not taught to build wealth. We're just taught to create income and spend it, create income and spend it. So that is definitely how I would say how wealth is transferred and can be completely redefined within just a decade.
Yeah, and I'm not that old, but I remember as a kid going to Bell's Candy Shop down the street from my house. I would go to a small community business. Now, those small community businesses are being replaced by the Walmarts, being replaced by the Targets. So it's not staying within the community, it's being funneled to these larger corporations.
Yeah, and with the larger corporations, at the end of the day, as you said earlier, they are created to create services to solve our problems. That's for eating, shopping at Home Goods, providing us with shoes and clothing and all sorts of things. But what we need to consider is businesses do two things, right? They are the place that we go for services and goods. But as us as consumers, when we're funneling our income into these businesses for these products and services, there's also a transfer of wealth that's happening, because if we're taking our income, placing it with these businesses, now our money has been transferred to a different party. Now, don't get me wrong, we need goods and services. We're not saying that you shouldn't go out and not spend your money. We're just making you think more about how you're spending your money. Because are you actually buying things intentionally Or are you satisfying an emotional desire?
I think in a lot of times, a lot of places, we're satisfying emotional desire, because let's think about how we're being advertised to or how we're being marketed to. It's positioning the product as something that we need for ourselves emotionally.
Yeah.
And when we go and we get these, let's say Air Jordans or something, they're not satisfying the need, they're satisfying the emotion that we need to have this particular type of shoe.
Brand, exactly.
Particular type of brand.
We can't just get a $20 Converse, we got to get a $200 Jordan. And now that transfer of wealth, there's a difference there. But when we're talking about these businesses, is earlier the point that we made is what we're taught about money and what's happening with it are two different things. And what's happening with the money is being controlled by 3% of the population. And that 3% of the population understands what to do with money. So if you want to understand what to do with money, I definitely recommend that you click on the link below to check out our masterclass so that you can start educating yourself and understanding what's happening with money and how it can affect your specific economy, which is your household.
Yeah, and now is as good a time as any to start self-educating yourself about finances and personal finances, because right now wealth is about to be created for a lot of people. Let's make sure it's us when it's all said and done, because we're seeing a lot of things happen with our economy. We're seeing that feds are cutting rates. We're seeing a lot of things happening financially. But who will this benefit? Will it benefit the everyday people like me and you, or will it benefit the people at the top who we're giving our money to? Mm-hmm. And a lot of times we have to take this into consideration, because when we spend money, it's all being funneled to the same group of people.
It's true, because for example, if we go to Target, a lot of people joke that you can't go to Target without spending $100 every single visit. Now that joke isn't necessarily super funny when you do the math and you think about all the money that you're giving to Target on a monthly or annual basis. That's money that you could be keeping for yourself in creating business, generating wealth, finding other strategic ways to invest. But instead, because we're human beings, we tend to satisfy our emotional needs before we satisfy our immediate needs. So these are things that we want you to keep in mind as we're going through this crisis, because right now we're all probably freaking out and getting a little bit emotional about what's going on in our economy. Mm-hmm. So what we want you to do is just take a step back. And like Darius said, don't panic, get creative. This is your opportunity to create. So if we consider our emotions, the question that I want to pose to you is, are your emotions eroding your wealth? Because if we think about it, our emotions could be driving the market. Like we were saying earlier, don't panic. Now is your time to get creative. Because as Americans, we've been taught to work for someone else. Creativity, innovation, and our drive has been stifled because we are at a 40-year deficit of entrepreneurship. Do you realize that businesses by individuals are at a 40-year all-time low because we are no longer creating? We're taught to go into the workplace and to work for other people and to not build our own dreams. And what we're taught is to continue to spend money impacting the market and just driving us even further down the consumerism lane.
Yeah, and building someone else's dreams, because all the creativity juices that we do have, we go and we use that up at work. We go and use that up in creating dreams for someone else. Mm-hmm. So we have to really start considering or taking into consideration or even taking inventory of the value that we're able to add to ourselves. The key to creating wealth is entrepreneurship. Don't let the Walmartization affect your ability to want to go out and create something. Because let me break down exactly what that means. Walmart has pushed out the small mom and pop stores because they can't compete with their prices. So as a result, people don't even try anymore. Mm-hmm. So what we have to do is we have to figure out creatively, how can we start affecting the market and adding value to other people through business?
Exactly. Yeah, and that's another thing that we're talking about with the emotions. Our panic or our emotions get the best of us, and because we go, oh, there's Walmart out there, we're not even going to get started. What are we doing? We're stifling our creativity and our innovation. And we hear people all the time, I can't tell you how many people who tell us, oh, well, there's such a demand for it. It's super competitive. I'm not going to get started because there's so much competition. If anything, this is great. This is validation that your business can exist. Do not start a business because there's competition. That's absurd.
And another thing that we're even competing with outside of Walmartization is regulation. It's harder now to create a business because of all the rules and regulations that we have to follow.
Yep.
So pick up a book, understand these things, and understand how you can use this to your ability.
Yeah, because there's other people out there who get intimidated by the rules and regulations that are set up in order to create a business that they don't even try, again, stifling our creativity and innovation. So put yourself in position to take advantage of these opportunities, knowing that people aren't going to get started anyway because of the emotional creatures that we tend to be.
Yeah, and if anybody's going to help us out of this current situation that we're in, it's going to be us. It's going to be people like you and me. So put on your big boy pants or your big girl pants because the economy needs you to start getting creative and generating business opportunities for everyone around you.
And you need yourself to control your financial future. The economy isn't going to do it, the stock market isn't going to do it, and the government isn't going to do it. So step up to the plate and take ownership for your life. Don't sit back and get crippled in fear and what the news and the media and everybody is saying. Turn off the news and figure out a way to get creative and to start impacting your economy directly. Now, one thing that I want to clear up in this video is that we're just talking about concepts. We're really just trying to get the juices flowing so that you can start really thinking about the opportunities you can create for yourself. Because we recognize with the conversations that we've recently had with family and friends that we're in uncharted territory. People don't know what to do, people are lost, and people are feeling helpless. So that's why we keep saying take ownership, own your own lifestyle. Start educating yourself when it comes to finances, start educating yourself when it comes to business, because you have all of the power and all of the opportunities in the world to literally create your own lifestyle. And now is at a better time than any time because everyone is panicking and trying to figure out what to do. So take a deep breath and let's get busy. Let's get to work and let's start figuring out how you can start generating income.
And leverage the power of the internet and YouTube. There's a ton of information on there that can help you, just like this next video that's talking about financial freedom. Utilize these tools that you have at your fingertips, because I know you're looking at this on your cell phone right now. And just utilize the tools that you have. And remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the notification bell to be notified when we post new videos.
And also check out the freebie below where we show you 52 ways for you to own your own lifestyle. And with that, make sure you own your own lifestyle.
Or someone else will.